Yes, there were letters that were exchanged between the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and President Trump. In her letter, Nancy Pelosi said that we agreed to try to find a mutually agreeable date for the next State of the Union. She says, I've identified that date as February the 5th. We'd like you to come up to the House and give your State of the Union address, to which the President said, see you next Tuesday. So stay tuned. We'll have a State of the Union, unless something goes off the rails, next Tuesday. Brett?
Today, as protesters demand President Nicolas Maduro step down, and President Trump is taking the clearest step yet to show his support for their cause. He announced the U.S. is officially recognizing the head of the opposition-controlled Congress in Venezuela as that country's leader. But despite the upheaval, Maduro is not without his supporters and is clamping down tonight. State Department correspondent Rich Edson has the latest.
Across Venezuela, tens of thousands of protesters demanding President Nicolas Maduro get out.
I have felt that people are believing again.
Juan Guaido is the president of the opposition-led National Assembly. Earlier this week, he began a legal process to try to replace Maduro. And today,
I swear to formally assume the powers of the national executive as president in charge of Venezuela.
the United States agrees. This afternoon, the Trump administration officially recognized Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. President Trump says, quote, I will continue to use the full weight of United States economic and diplomatic power to press for the restoration of Venezuelan democracy. We continue to hold the illegitimate Maduro regime directly responsible for any threats it may pose to the safety of the Venezuelan people. Maduro says he's breaking diplomatic relations with the U.S. and giving American diplomats 72 hours to leave the country. There's little indication Maduro plans to leave.
We hope that Nicolas Maduro will accept a peaceful transition of power in Venezuela, that he will accept the will of the people to move his country forward and embrace their new president, Juan Guaido.
At the White House, when asked whether the U.S. would consider using military force there, President Trump refused to rule it out.
We're not considering anything, but all options are on the table.
Does that mean you're considering
Which is all options, always. All options are on the table.
Maduro's government dispatched police to the demonstrations. They fired rubber bullets and tear gas. Pro-government factions also organized counter-protests.
The government that made Chavez, the government that has Maduro, now has achieved significant progress.
The Trump administration encourages other governments to join the U.S. and recognize Guaido as Venezuela's legitimate leader. Maduro has called the opposition little boys under the control of the Trump administration. The United Nations says 3 million Venezuelans have left their country, escaping rampant inflation, food and medicine shortages, and violence. Several U.S. allies in the region have joined the administration in recognizing Juan Guaido as interim president of Venezuela, though Venezuela's defense minister indicates the country's military is still behind Nicolas Maduro. Brett?
Rich Edson at the
Toppled very quickly by the military if the military decides to do that. And you saw how the military spread as soon as they heard a bomb go off way above their head. That military was running for cover.
Video captured the terrifying scene over the weekend. A drone strapped with explosives appeared to target President Nicolas Maduro during a military parade on Saturday.
And you saw how the military spread as soon as they heard a bomb go off way above their head.
6 people have been arrested. Maduro has been accused of undermining democracy and violating human rights in Venezuela. The country's tanking economy has also triggered a massive refugee crisis.
Diplomatic and economic tools to support interim President Guaido, the National Assembly, and the Venezuelan people's efforts to restore their democracy.
But we have continued to expose the corruption of Maduro and his cronies, and today's action ensures they can no longer loot the assets of the Venezuelan people.
Son ilegales, unilaterales, inmorales, criminales, harm of Venezuela. Donald Trump, hands of Venezuela.
The economic measures against Maduro target the country's key source of revenue, immediately freezing $7 billion in assets. American firms also won't be able to do business with Caracas. All existing U.S. money there will enter blocked accounts. And it is estimated, that figure, that the sanctions will cost Venezuela $11 billion in lost oil revenues this year alone. Well, during the announcement about the sanctions, the US National Security Advisor's notepad was facing reporters, exposing a handwritten message that read 5,000 troops to Colombia. Some suggested that it was an unlucky slip, others that it was intentional. Washington responded, saying that all options are still on the table.